Ladies and gentlemen, the Senate thought that it had the perfect excuse. John Thune, he could point to the filibuster, shrug his shoulders, and say, sorry, nothing we could do, right? The SAVE Act was supposed to disappear into Washington's favorite retirement home for legislation, the U.S. Senate, but then Speaker Mike Johnson, he did something almost nobody saw coming, and he didn't try to kick the front door down. No, he just walked around the building and found another entrance. And now, suddenly, even Senator Mike Lee, he's saying, wait a minute, I may have been wrong. I mean, when one of the Senate's leading constitutional conservatives publicly changes his mind, you already know something big just happened, guys, because meanwhile, President Donald J. Trump, he's turning up the heat from Georgia. Turn up the heat. Look at how badly I'm sweating right now. Anyway, he's calling out Senate Republicans by name. Meanwhile, the House keeps on advancing the issue in ways that just make it harder and harder for Senate leadership to pretend that nothing has changed. Well, folks, if John Thune was hoping that this issue would just quietly fade away, he may actually want to keep the receipt, because that plan is looking about as reliable as airport Wi-Fi during a thunderstorm.
These are very popular and important and necessary objectives. Number one, secure American elections by passing the Save America Act into law, as much of that as possible. That's the objective. He announced 280,000 non-citizens have been found to be on voter rolls in America. I mean, if that doesn't cry for the passage of the Save America Act into law, I don't know what does. He announced that foreign adversaries have compromised American election data and that our election system is vulnerable to threats. I mean, that should concern every American citizen. This isn't about relitigating 2020. This is about making sure that people have faith in our election system. If you do not have a free and fair election, it's very difficult to maintain a constitutional republic, a government of, by, and for the people. I mean, this is basic stuff.
Now, Washington politicians, they have mastered the art of saying, well, it's complicated. I hate that stupid phrase. Mike Johnson's response, fine. Okay, let's make it uncomplicated. Here's the part that the media isn't spending a whole lot of time talking about. Wonder why? This ain't even about another House vote, guys. This may be the first real strategy that we've seen that forces the Senate to stop hiding behind the same old procedural playbook. So we're going to go ahead and break down exactly what just happened, why it matters, and why supporters of the SAVE Act suddenly have a big reason to believe that this fight just entered a completely different phase. Now, before we jump in, guys, if you enjoy straightforward coverage, none of the mainstream media BS, because I peel the mainstream media BS and eat it for lunch. Nah, seriously, guys, if you or someone you love is on Medicare, turning 65 years old soon, did you know that you can get free Medicare help through our friends at Chapter? I mean, seriously, these guys are absolutely amazing, and they're saving the average senior about $1,100 a year. That's some pretty serious change, especially with these crazy grocery prices. So give our friends a call. It's totally free. There's no sales pressure, none of that nonsense. I wouldn't even work with companies like that, okay? Phone numbers down below, in the description down below of this video, 909-563-8279. Call them right now. All right, and let's get into it. If you enjoy the show, leave me a like on the way out. Totally appreciate that. Now, let's get one thing straight right now, okay? This story today is not that the House passed the SAVE Act again, okay? They've done that before. 3 times, actually, and 3 times it went to the Senate to die, okay? Not like everybody thinks Mitch McConnell has died, but the bill goes to die. Now, here's the real story, okay? This time, Mike Johnson, he refused to play the same losing hand, okay? Everybody, and I mean everybody, they assumed that this would go exactly like it always goes. House passes it, Senate buries it, rinse, repeat, cue the sad trombone, right? But instead, Johnson looked at this whole broken cycle and he basically said, that's cute. That is so freaking cute. I want to grab your cheeks, but not today, sir. Not today, okay? He didn't fight the Senate the old way, not the same old way. He actually changed the entire battlefield.
We just had a great meeting with the House Republican Conference. We're delighted to have been joined by the Vice President, J.D. Vance. You'll hear from him in just a moment. What we were here to address today, what you're all here to hear about, is we're moving forward with Reconciliation 3.0. This morning, after many months of deliberation and discussion and contemplation, the House Budget Committee, of course, is moving forward with the budget resolution that will get us to Reconciliation 3.0. Let me tell you a few of the details about it. Given the Democrats' absolute refusal to work with us on the nation's top priorities, and that includes election integrity and strengthening our nation's defense, we're moving forward with a narrow, streamlined package to deliver on some of America's top priorities. It is a sad situation, but this is where we are. Republicans have to do this on our own. So the budget resolution instructs 4 House committees to write Reconciliation 3.0, the bill. Those committees are the House Administration Committee, House Armed Services Committee, House Agriculture, and House Intelligence Committee. Each of them will have an important component part of that. The forthcoming reconciliation legislation sets out to accomplish 2 very important goals. 1, to secure America's elections. We're going to pass the Save America Act into law, as much of that as possible. The Save America Act ensures, as you know, that voters have proof of citizenship to register to vote, and they show a valid ID when they turn up to vote at the ballot box. These common sense policies are supported by 83% of the American people. It's almost a 9 out of 10 public opinion poll in most of the polls that you look at. The second objective is to protect and strengthen our homeland. How will we do that? We will provide supplemental funding for our troops with the administration's request to support national defense and our farmers. That's very important stuff. The Budget Committee is scheduled to vote this budget resolution out of committee tomorrow, and we will pass it through the House next week. We'll send it to the Senate, and then they will pass it before the August district work period. After the Senate passes the budget resolution, our 4 instructed House committees can go to work to write the reconciliation bill itself. We're looking forward to this process. We intend for this to be a lawmaking exercise, which means the House and the Senate both have to pass the bill, and of course the President signs it into law. This budget resolution, which kickstarts Reconciliation 3.0, is a process. It's our best shot at enacting our party's top priority legislation, the Save America Act. It is important to the American people. It is important to the future. And there is nothing in this bill that every Republican in Congress cannot proudly get behind.
Let that land for a second, guys. He changed the whole battlefield. Now, by the time that we're done today, you're going to understand exactly why John Thune may have just lost his biggest excuse. You know, the one that he's been hiding behind for months. The excuse is practically on life support right now. And Mike Johnson, well, he's the one that's holding the plug. Now, real quick thing before we keep going, guys. If you're the type who's, got us on in the background while you're driving, maybe you're folding some laundry, maybe you're dragging the dog around the block for the 4th time today, maybe you're sitting on the toilet. I don't know. I got good news for you. The Ron Yates Report is now on Spotify. So just go ahead and search it up. Just search it, hit follow, and you'll never miss another episode again. And even the ones you technically can't watch because your hands are full with a leash, maybe you're stuck on a Zoom call, you'd rather listen to Ron Yates. Anyway, so you have an alternative. For months, here's all you heard from the Senate. We don't have 60 votes. I mean, I'm tired of hearing this. Anybody else tired of hearing this? 60 votes. It's like it's some sacred number carved into like a stone tablet from like the Stone Age or something, right? That excuse worked great for them. It let every senator sit back and shrug and blame math instead of themselves, but not anymore, guys. You see, Mike Johnson, he found the side door. It's called reconciliation. Now, stick with me, guys. It's not complicated. No matter what the news, whatever the cable news wants you to believe. Reconciliation lets Congress pass certain budget-related items with just 50 votes, not 60. Now, think about it like this, right? They locked the front door of the building, bolted it shut, put the alarm on it, Brinks, ADT, you name it, right? They added the Ring doorbell on it. They felt very safe. Now, Mike Johnson, he found the side entrance, and he's already walking through it. Suddenly, we don't have 60 votes doesn't mean what it used to. Suddenly, John Thune's favorite excuse just got a whole lot smaller, and you can't blame it on being cold outside. Somebody pinch me, okay? Mike Lee, a United States Senator, a guy who reads the Constitution for fun, on purpose, for enjoyment. Who the freak does that? Anyway, so he goes on record saying reconciliation could never work for the SAVE Act. Case closed. Or so he thought. Now, Mike Lee, he just said in public, out loud, on record, I think I may have been mistaken. A senator admitting he was wrong in writing. Somebody please check the Senate to make sure that the Senate ceiling is still standing, guys.
It's withdrawing money from a bank. You show up and the money's gone from your account because your bank stopped requiring people to show ID. They can come along and claim to be someone they're not and take someone's money that is not theirs. The mere fact that we have a lot of people who are allowed to vote doesn't diminish the seriousness of not requiring people to prove that they are, in fact, who they claim to be when they show up to exercise that important right. Some people, when denying that there is any need for us to act here, will throw out things and say, well, that's fine for the bank or for theater tickets or for the pharmacy, but this is an important constitutional right. It is a fundamental right. My response to that is, yes, exactly. And that's exactly why we need it. The fact that it involves a protected, fundamental constitutional right is a reason why we need to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. That, Mr. President, is exactly what the Save America Act does. It's exactly what it would do. When I set out about 3 years ago to write this bill, along with my partner in the House, Congressman Chip Roy from Texas, that was our mantra. Let's make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. Never at the time could we have predicted how much attention this would get, and never at the time could we have predicted the absurdity of the arguments that would be raised against this. Because, Mr. President, if you're careful, if you listen carefully, what you will find is that there is not a legitimate argument against the Senate passing the Save America Act. No, not even one.
These people never admit to fault or wrongdoing, right? So here's why this matters, all right? So Mike Lee, he's not some like bencher that nobody's heard of. He's one of the sharpest constitutional minds in that entire building, okay? So when he says that, that there's a path, other senators start Googling it. They're like, wait a second, is there actually a path? I mean, one domino just fell. And dominoes, as we all painfully remember from history class, don't usually stop at one. Now, if you know somebody who's been saying the SAVE Act is never going anywhere, go ahead and send them this video right now. They need to see exactly why today just changed the entire conversation. So meanwhile in Georgia, President Donald Trump, he wasn't exactly whispering. He stood on that stage and he told Senate Republicans point blank, pass the SAVE Act, kill the filibuster, and stop protecting an election system that lets crooked mail-in ballots slide through like a fast pass at an amusement park. The crowd loved it, naturally, of course, right? Now, here's a contrast that should really embarrass absolutely everybody in Washington. The House keeps passing this thing over and over and over like clockwork. The Senate just keeps on sitting on it, like a cat sitting on a laptop you desperately need to use. Get up off my laptop, big dog. So President Trump's message was simple. Stop being the cat. Stop being the cat. Anyway, so the pressure is not coming from one direction anymore. In fact, it's coming from the president. It's also coming from the House, and as we're going to get to in just a second, from actual voters in places that nobody expected. Now, John Thune's excuses, they're getting real lonely real fast. You know what I'm saying? And so, here's where it gets good, right? Reconciliation wasn't Mike Johnson's only move. That would have been too easy. He's actually playing chess with the Senate. Okay. In fact, he's playing chess while the Senate is still figuring out how the horsey moves. Anybody know what does anybody know what the horse's name actually is on the chessboard? Yeah. Apparently the Senate doesn't even know how to work that thing. So move number 2, he attached SAVE Act provisions to the National Defense Authorization Act. Translation for anybody who happened to skip that class, the NDAA funds the military, the troops, paychecks, national defense. It has to pass every year, no exceptions, okay? So now the SAVE Act isn't standing alone in a dark alley waiting to get mugged by the Senate. It's riding shotgun with the military budget. Try filibustering that one, Thune. Go ahead, tell the troops, sorry, we're holding your paychecks hostage over voter ID. Let's see how that headline, guys, you already know that headline's gonna work itself, and I wanna see how the military reacts to that one. This is the kind of move that really makes you kind of sit up and go, wait, that's actually smart. Because it is. So let's go ahead and count the walls that are closing in on John Thune, shall we? Okay, so wall number 1, reconciliation, just became a real option. Wall number 2, the NDAA now carries SAVE Act provisions he can't easily strip out. Wall number 3, Trump is publicly calling him out by name. Wall number 4, voters are calling his office a lot. This is not pressure. This is a full-blown pressure cooker, okay? Now for months actually, John Thune, he got to sit back and blame the 60-vote rule like it was some unstoppable force of nature, like gravity or taxes or your uncle's political opinions at Thanksgiving. Now, the excuses, they're shrinking one by one. And when the excuses run out, folks, all that's left is the one decision. John Thune is running out of hiding spots, and the cameras are still rolling. Now, let's talk numbers. Simple ones, 6th grade math, I promise. Republicans hold 53 seats. Democrats hold 47. Vice President J.D. Vance breaks any tie. So this means Mike Johnson doesn't need every single Republican to fall in line. He just needs 50. Now, a few names keep on floating around as possible holdouts. Mitch McConnell, Tom Tillis, Lisa Murkowski, maybe Susan Collins needs some convincing too. But here's the beautiful part. Even if he loses a few, he could still win the whole thing. I mean, this isn't about getting a unanimous standing ovation from the entire Republican conference. This was never going to be perfect harmony. Hand-holding, kumbaya around the campfire. No. I don't think anybody brought their marshmallows. This is about 50 votes, guys. That's it. That's the whole bar. And so when the bar is that low, a handful of stubborn senators suddenly matter a whole lot less than they used to. It's funny how math has a way of humbling people. Now, here's the number that should really keep senators up at night. A brand new poll just dropped in Minnesota. Not Texas, not Georgia, Minnesota. This is a state Democrats count on like it's a family heirloom. 57% said yes. Pass the SAVE Act. Pass the SAVE Act in a blue state, mind you. Now let that sink in, guys. guys, if Minnesota's saying yes at 57%, you can only imagine what the same poll looks like in California. I mean, actually, we don't even have to imagine that. Public support for voter ID and proof of citizenship polls high basically everywhere you look. So this is the part where this is just a partisan issue argument quietly excuses itself from the room. Nobody invited it to leave. It just knew. I mean, when voters in blue states start arguing with the SAVE Act, this is not a talking point anymore, folks. This is a landslide hiding in plain sight. So you guys remember when half the conservative media couldn't stand Mike Johnson? You know, when every other headline was some version of Johnson caves again? Yeah, it's funny how fast that changes. Now, I want you to compare Mike Johnson to Kevin McCarthy just for a second, okay? Now, under Kevin McCarthy, this bill barely got a heartbeat. Under Mike Johnson, well, it passed the House multiple times. And so now it's riding two separate legislative vehicles at the same time, like riding two horses, about to split your groin. This is not luck, guys. This is not an accident. This is a speaker who apparently learned something from watching his predecessor get removed, fired from the job in real time. Now, Mike Johnson's whipping some votes, okay? He's making the SAVE Act a real priority. He's telling his own conference in plain terms, get in line or get replaced, okay? Turns out leadership was always available as an option. Who knew, right? Even people who spent years rolling their eyes at Mike Johnson, they're grudgingly, they're typing out, okay, fine, credit where it's credit's due, right? This is not a small thing in business. Okay, that's practically a miracle. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves, guys, because nothing here is signed or sealed or delivered yet. The Senate can still ultimately strip out these provisions, okay? Democrats can still resist. Mitch McConnell, Tillis, Murkowski, any one of these guys can still vote no. This isn't a victory lap. Not yet, guys. But here's what's different. Every vote from here on out really happens in broad daylight, attached to reconciliation, attached to the NDAA, impossible to quietly bury in committee like the good old days. Now, remember when senators could just kill a bill in the shadows in the dead of night and nobody noticed? Those days are dying faster than Thune's excuses. The cost of saying no just went up, way up. Every no vote now comes with a name and a date and a receipt, okay? So accountability has just entered the chat, and it doesn't appear to be leaving anytime soon.
She or somebody else ought to get on the phone and get the votes, right? It's 50 around here. So instead of, pointing the finger at Republicans, they might think about going after the people who are stopping it on the floor, which is the Democrats. And if there are Republicans that they think are gettable, get on the phone.
Now, if we zoom out just for a second, because this was never really just about one bill. This was really about a speaker who refused to accept the word impossible. Everybody told Mike Johnson this was dead on arrival, the Senate, the filibuster, the 60 vote wall, every excuse in the book. He didn't argue with the excuses. He just went around them. Reconciliation, the NDAA, two separate paths, both aimed at the same target. This is not stubbornness. This is clearly a strategy. And this is exactly why supporters are reacting the way that they are, because for years, this town has trained people to expect nothing. Promises, press conferences, then silence. This time feels different. Not because anyone's popping champagne early. Nobody's popping Cristal or anything like that. But it's because for the first time in a long time, the pressure isn't just talk. It's math, it's momentum, it's Trump in Georgia, Mike Lee eating his words, and a speaker who apparently reads the rule book better than the people who wrote it. So here's where we are, guys. President Trump applied the pressure, Mike Johnson found the loophole, Mike Lee, he flipped, and reconciliation opened the door. The NDAA slammed it shut right behind the Senate, so basically they can't sneak out the back. So now, look, nobody's saying it's over. The Senate can still fumble this. They've had plenty of practice doing that. Here's what's true right now, guys, today, whether they like it or not. The excuses are getting smaller, the pressure, it's getting bigger, it's getting higher, it's getting hotter, and Washington may never get to look at this issue the same lazy way again. Years from now, people might look back and say, hey, this was the week the whole thing turned. So here's my question to you. Drop it in the comments below, guys. Do you think the Senate actually passes this thing, or do you think that they find one more excuse to hide behind? Now, hey guys, if today is the kind of video that you'd want playing on your commute tomorrow driving to work instead of staring at a screen once you get to work, I got you covered. The Ron Yates Report is now on Spotify. Search for it, hit follow, and let us ride along with you next time you're stuck in traffic yelling at the radio anyway. Now, folks, this is where we are. The loophole is found, the pressure is real, and John Thune's favorite excuse is it's on its last legs. Now, if today's video got you all fired up, even a little bit, hit the like button for me on the way out. It's free. It just helps more people to find out what's really going on, and to also let people know that this bill is not dead. And if you're not subscribed yet, what you guys waiting for? We ain't going nowhere, and neither is the story. Hit subscribe. That way you don't miss out on what's happening next. We'll see you next time.